Welcome back to Cigar Time, your ever so friendly show all about premium cigars. Are you mimicking me again?
No.
At this time on this station every Wednesday night. Welcome back, everybody.
My favorite number's 3.
Yeah.
3?
3.
It's
Okay.
a charm.
Everything's good in 3s.
3, third time's a charm.
Chinese, it's number 8 is the good luck number.
We don't want to do it.
No. No, we don't want to do 8.
You don't want to do 8?
No.
Well, we'll try for 3.
8, can you imagine?
No, I can't.
We did 6 in a
You
day
guys don't know
before, I
what
think.
we're talking about.
No.
We had some technical
Technical
issues.
difficulties.
Twice.
Technical difficulties.
Well, one
Our
was
former
tech-
director,
Technical forget me.
Our former
our
director.
former director, who's now on his way to the unemployment office. Let's hope he drives better than he films.
Hey, it's snowing. You never know.
Yeah.
I think this time I'm not going to ask that one question that screwed us up before. I think I'm going to let that go.
I don't know which question it is, but if we hit upon it, just go mute.
It's about New Jersey.
That's right.
Okay,
What
we'll leave
exit?
that
See,
one.
I know
that's what
question.
happened. It was the New Jersey thing.
Yeah, you caused
I
it.
No, Paul's from Jersey. He never screwed it
As
up.
you may have noticed, we're doing 2 things tonight. One, we're smoking an AJ Fernandez New World Cameroon, which is a relatively new cigar.
Yes.
Brad
Correct.
Spankin' new.
And the second thing is Tia is not on today's show because she's a little under the weather, and pinch hitting for Tia is Marianne, who
Right.
is a professional tobacconist, has been doing this for, considering her age, a very long time. And we're happy to have her on the show
Yes.
today. We're
Welcome.
happy to have her in the
Welcome,
company.
welcome.
Thank you,
Welcome.
thank you.
And who wants to get started? Who wants to?
Yeah, Marianne.
Marianne.
No, let's
Behind
move
Throw her
on.
into the fire.
First, I was going to say
Marianne.
Marianne's the answer to a trivia question.
I don't want to know
Who's
the
the rock and
question.
roll?
Or ginger.
Marianne or Ginger?
That's correct.
I've never heard that before.
Moose, why don't you tell us more about
Actually,
the
Marianne's
cigar with
done.
us?
Marianne's
Oh,
good.
Marianne,
Marianne
Marianne
off.
can
Yeah,
tell
Ginger,
us,
be
yeah.
quiet.
But
So
somebody tell us.
we, of course, as we said, are smoking the AJ New World Cameroon, which is a binder filler of Nicaraguan, of course, with a Cameroon wrapper.
Nice.
There
Excellent.
is a little bit of nuttiness to it, we agreed upon.
Right.
They
And it's-
swear they're tasting tons of Ligero pepper. I'm not so sure about that.
Not anymore.
In the beginning, it
It
does.
could be that she's right and we're wrong. She may know more than we do.
That's not
I
going to
don't
be
see how-
difficult to do.
It's not hard to do. So.
There you are, being shown up by a woman. I think that's actually a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Next thing, they'll want the right to vote.
Yeah. That ain't gonna happen.
Be careful.
All right. Cut.
There's no filming the camera this time.
Oh wait, you gotta take it out and get it developed.
All you got to say about this is cigar. It's from AJ.
It's from AJ. It's an AJ cigar, which means it's a good
There's
cigar.
only I think there's one cigar that he ever made that I didn't really care for, the Pinolero. I had such
Yeah.
high hopes for that cigar.
Also, the public didn't much care for it, at least our public didn't much care for it either, because it didn't sell that well.
No, not at all. The
Uh,
oval didn't do that well either for some reason.
I like the oval.
Why don't we get our third opinions?
Or this is my third impression. It used to be very, very strong.
Yes.
Like surprisingly strong. And when I first started, it was very, very nutty. And it was very peppery, but I think that pepper is now subsided for me, at least.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's definitely nutty. I'm getting a little bit of an earthy taste in the beginning. I'm definitely. You said pepper. I'm also getting a nutty taste. The pepper I got was through the retrohale in the beginning, but that has really subsided.
I'm getting a new flavor on the retrohale. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Okay.
It actually might be still nuttiness, but like more almondy than originally.
It's the Cameroon wrapper.
And boysenberry.
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 Huckleberry.
Will be my huckleberry.
Your
Great.
first impression?
Doc Holliday.
Second impression? Third
But
impression?
third impression
Well, there
is,
goes
I,
that
I,
way now.
I agree with the 2 gentlemen at the other end of the panel on the flavors and the way the cigar is mellowed out nicely. Very tasty.
This is a real good
Marianne?
cigar.
I think it's a nice medium full cigar. I did finally get some of the Ligero that they were discussing, which is good. Definitely taste the nuttiness of the Cameroon wrapper. It's a very good cigar so far.
How about the pepper now? Still
You're not getting any pepper?
Still no pepper?
I did about a third of the way in.
Okay.
I did.
Well, as for me, now that we're smoking a Robusto instead of the double Corona we started out with, even on a relight, I've got a little of the pepper, and it's actually smoother than when
It
you
is,
first
yeah,
lit
it's
it.
Yeah,
a
it
lot
absolutely
smoother.
smooths out,
And,
yeah.
but I'm still getting a little bit of a nutty taste.
Mhm.
Definitely there. It's quite pleasant to smoke. What do these retail for?
I think $6.
Under
$6?
7.
I'm
Under
pretty
seven.
sure
Oh.
that Toro's about, I'm pretty sure it's 6, and I believe that it's less expensive than the originals, which surprised
Oh.
me given the Cameroon.
Yeah,
Cameroon.
I think it was
Expensive.
was it last week we were talking about? I think it was last week we were talking about how expensive the Cameroon wrapper is because
it's
of
very
the,
expensive.
because of the low yield. And
Yes.
And a lot of waste.
A lot of waste.
You get a lot of waste with Cameroon. They
And they're
can't
shipping
hold
it
it
from
together.
shipping it from Africa, so
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean waste in the process,
In the front,
Yeah.
yeah.
let
Yes.
alone the shipping.
so it's a very expensive leaf. And trivia question for everybody: who's on this panel is Cameroon is their favorite rapper? I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but
Is it?
Say it every week.
Rob, it's
Yeah.
Rob.
That's-
Oh.
For those of you who got it right, special prize.
If you come in and get a free cigar, I'll give you a free cigar. If you say that, if you come in the if you come in the store and mention you saw this show and you that trivia question, I'll give you a free cigar.
But you're not at every store every day.
Well, gotta come to Horsham.
You gotta figure out which story.
That's part of the trivia. You gotta figure out where he's
Right,
at.
right. I'm in Horsham. You come in, I'll give you a free cigar.
Where's Rob?
Where
You
in
gotta
the
get your
world
little bubblehead.
That's right.
Where's Rob?
Where in the world is South Philly Rob?
Yeah.
Now you go back 7 years to radio.
7 years of radio.
Back
that's
to
right.
radio.
And we all had faces for radio too.
We do.
Voices for
Just
Frank.
find the vacuum. Rob will be there.
That's right. Use my vacuum. What are we talking
What?
about today, Scott?
You're going to regale us with your magnificent education of product and I can't even, the words can't
Oh, I'm just
describe.
gonna read with the notes though.
Oh, okay. Read the notes.
All right, so in our continuing educational series, last time we talked about aging the. That's right. We talked about aging the tobacco. We went from fermentation to aging, and now we're we're ready to make a cigar. The first part of that is the bunching, but what happens is a supervisor will come to the team of roller and buncher with boxes or containers with the different type of tobaccos for the cigar they're making, and instructions on that cigar that they're making that day. In other words, like which, where to put each different types of the filler. I guess they already know the type of bunching they're going to do and all that kind of stuff.
Triffic, Kappa, and Banda.
Thank you. The band is that the binder?
Yeah.
I never heard that word before. Interesting. And cigar rollers are typically in teams. One person in the team does the bunching, the other one does the rolling, which is what most people are familiar with, seeing them applying the wrapper. And I think it depends on the country, and we were talking about this before. I think Honduras works with just one person does both the bunching and the rolling of the cigar at one time. But I think right now most countries have one buncher and one roller, and they work in teams. I guess
It's faster.
learning curve, it's faster, it's more economical. So the first part of this process is the buncher. So this is where they take the filler leaves, they put them they put them on top of the binder, and they put the filler leaves based on the recipe from the blender or the supervisor. And this is what makes the cigar, taste the way the blender intended. So what the filler leaves is where you get all the flavor, or the filler leaves are basically used for flavor and combustibility, and the binder is used for combustibility and also to bind, just like you would think, all of the filler leaves together. There are 4 basic methods of doing the bunching. One is N2 which is where they take all of the filler leaves and they actually put them in tubes. They roll them into tubes, or what Rob calls straws, and then they take all of those straws together and they put them in the binder and wrap them up. The advantage of that bunching method is you almost always get a perfect draw from that,
Yes.
because you've got a whole bunch of different tubes that you're drawing through. There's the accordion where you're, you know, you're folding it back and forth so it looks like an accordion. There's the book bunching method, which Art said is you just fold it, you're folding it over. And then there's one called the Lieberman method, which they use a Lieberman device, which is basically this kind of handmade machine with, it's got like a leather table or platform. You put the binder leaf down, you put the filler leaves on top of the binder, and you just basically, I guess it's almost like a cigarette rolling machine in a way. It's like a giant cigarette rolling machine. So once whatever method they use, once this bunch is made, they then put that in a mold. And that's to make sure that the bunch keeps its cylindrical shape.
Right.
So once they fill up this mold with the 10 different bunches, they then put the lid on this and they'll put it in a cigar press. They'll do that each time they fill 10 bunches into the mold. And the reason they put it into a cigar press is to further make sure it keeps all the tobacco together and it makes sure you have a nice cylindrical shape. So after 30 or 60 minutes, depending on a lot of other things, they'll take and they'll turn that cigar 1/2 turn or 180 degrees. They'll put it back in the mold, they'll put it back in the press. So this ensures that you get ensures you've got a perfect cylinder, and it helps make sure that you don't have any seams which will show up once you apply the wrapper. So so now you've got a bunch. Actually, with this bunch, you could actually light that and smoke it.
Yes.
It wouldn't taste all that great, although it wouldn't taste horrible. But because that binder is like a wrapper leaf, you could actually smoke that bunch right then and there. I wouldn't recommend it. So now the roller jumps in, and their job is to apply the wrapper leaf and apply the cap.
Forgot the draw test.
Actually, I was gonna remember that part this time.
Okay.
So one of the first things that the roller does is they test the draw. As Rob pointed out on one of the error sequences we did, that I said they did the draw test after the cap was put on, which you can't. I think there is a machine that puts a needle in, but anyway. So they do a draw test. Then the roller will then take one of the wrapper leaves, and I should also point out that they gently wet the leaf, so it's pliable and it doesn't break or it's not brittle. So they'll put this wrapper leaf on the table, and they'll take what's called a chevette, and they'll trim the top of it off and the bottom of it off. This makes it easier. It kind of ends up in a cyclical or a sickle kind of shape, or a half moon. And Rob, talk about the left top.
Yeah, they have
right.
left hand, depending on which way the stems go on the leaf. It's either a left-handed or right-handed leaf, depending on. It shows you which way you have to roll the cigar.
Right.
So it rolls evenly and goes down the cigar.
And there's a top side and a bottom side.
You don't want to roll it inside out.
Yeah, well, the top side's basically, it's going to be shinier and
Yes.
sheener.
Smoother.
It's not going to change really the way the cigar smokes. It's just going to be more appealing,
Right.
and it's going to look a lot nicer. So, all right. So now they've got their tobacco. They've got the left or the right. It's trimmed. Now they take. Well, I'll use this as an example. They'll take the bunch and they'll put it on the end of the tobacco. I mean, they put a little tobacco glue to make sure it stays, and then they gently roll the bunch into the wrapper. Sounds very simple, but I'm sure we've all tried it. It is very difficult.
Very difficult.
You've got to be have a lot of dexterity,
Yes.
because with this hand, in my case, this is how I would do it. In this hand,
Well,
you're
depending on if it's a left-handed or right-handed leaf.
correct. That's right. They have to be ambidextrous.
And if
So
you're
you're
right-handed or left-handed.
right. So
or
they
ambidextrous.
start to roll the cigar, but at the same time, while they're doing this, they have to gently press it. They also have to make sure that the wrapper stays kind of taut and evenly spread out, which is a very difficult thing because they have to do that because the cigar wants to have a nice appearance. You don't want to get any wrapper pinched or any blemishes. At the same time, they have to do all this without tearing the wrapper, and these wrappers, as we've talked about many times, are very, very delicate.
Especially Cameroon.
Yes, so it's a very difficult and time-consuming. Well, after these guys can do it in their sleep, they've done so many
Yeah,
of them.
they do.
So they roll the cigar, and there's going to be, after they do that, there's going to be some excess tobacco on the head of the cigar, and that's what they call it a flag. So they then trim this up, and they gently wrap the head of the cigar in this, and then now it's time to apply the cap. So they'll take the cigar, and they'll dip it in just a dab of, or they'll put a dab of cigar glue on it, which is an all natural vegetable based product.
Not
It's-
Elmer's.
It's
Not
yes, not Elmer's
Not
or
Elmer's
Super
or,
Glue.
yeah.
or Gorilla.
Gorilla
They're not
Glue.
out there.
They're not milking the gorilla.
They're not milking the gorilla.
Gorilla.
No,
Here we go.
milking the gorilla.
Uh,
So-
yes, we'll get live.
So they'll take that. If you remember, I talked about the flag. They'll take that tobacco and they'll take this. Does anyone know the name of that thing?
Cutter.
No,
Is it-
there's a name
There's
for
a,
it.
a name. It's a circular
That's
cutter.
what it's
It's
called.
almost like a bullet cutter, but it's
Bigger.
they'll take it and they'll cut out the hole in the leaf. They'll take the cigar, they'll dab it on it, and they'll smooth the top out. And the reason they use the same is so the same leaf that they just cut off is so the cap has the same
Oh, nice.
same taste. Then they smooth it all out. They take the cigar, they take the Chivetta, and they kind of roll it through this so it has a perfect cylinder. Then they take that and after that, now it's time for inspection. All of the cigars are inspected for the length, the width, the weight. They'll look to make sure that the color's right, see that there's no blemishes on the cigar, and now it's ready for aging. And they take it. and they-
Typically aged in cedar closets made out of Spanish cedar.
Correct. Yes, and they're almost always done in wheels of 50, although sometimes you'll have like wheels of 25 because they had an off number that they made and they go to storage. And Art, you were telling us earlier that you and Mike were in the Dominican and you saw some of the aging rooms at Fuente.
Yeah, we were at the Fuente facility where Carlito spent 3 days with us touring the factories, their new box factory. It was quite fascinating. I mean, I learned a lot. And we've got 3,000 people working down there. So, yeah, I saw that the process they use different processes. Different rollers use different processes. And the certain rollers only roll 25 cigars a day.
Yeah, you were saying that for the
Opus
Opus X rollers.
And some of the rare and difficult cigars, they only roll 25 a day. And we saw, I even took a picture of it, a whole day's production of Opus X was like 300 cigars. And only a couple people roll
And
it.
you said that's in the entire factory, right?
That's the entire factory.
That's pretty
300
interesting.
cigars
That's
a day.
amazing.
And 98%
That's why they're so
of
hard to
it-
get.
Yeah, 98% of that production goes to the United States. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot, 300 cigars, but when you figure out the entire United States,
That's why they're so rare.
that's why you only
I
get them a
just
few
read that.
times a year.
I wonder what percent of that goes to them.
Cigar
Yeah.
cigars.
Yes.
Well, we get a fair share.
Well, you were talking about the different aromas in the different
In
rooms
the-
that they
in-
age.
in the aging rooms, which were not a room like you would imagine a room. I mean, these were huge rooms. And you had the Opus X, you had the Hemingways, and you had the other Cameroons, and the smells in each of the rooms was totally different. I mean, and it wasn't at like different points of the process it would smell different.
That's what I was going to ask. If
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's from
it was just
blend
because of
was
the blends are
equal.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the timing was about the same, the way he does it. And he's a perfectionist. I mean, beyond, the care and attention that he gives to every little detail is unbelievable. If I didn't hear it and see it myself, I wouldn't believe it. But I mean, the pride that these people take, when he would walk into a rolling gallery where there might be 70 or 80 rollers sitting in an area with their tables and chevettas and everything else, I mean, he would lead them in a cheer. They would all get up and, I mean, it was like nothing I've ever seen in any cigar factory I've ever been to. And I mean, the love is just unbelievable with his people. But he manages every little detail to perfection. And the way they inspect the cigars and goes beyond anything I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
I mean, they take them out of the box 3-4 times. I mean, any little defect, any little hair hanging out of the foot or anything, man, it gets rejected. I mean, it just, you wonder why they're so successful. This is why they're so
It's
successful.
amazing with that kind of control also is how they still maintain, I mean, outside of the rarer cigars,
The
I mean, the
price.
Chateau, the 858.
Yeah,
I mean, they're $7 cigars.
Yeah.
that's correct. Because he mass produces cigars with so many people, and I mean, his investment in the business is beyond anything I've
Yeah.
ever seen. And I mean, he cranks them out.
They're
But he-
pretty charitable too.
Well, we spent the first day at the Cigar Family Foundation, the schools and play areas, and I mean, the kids were worth the trip. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the cigars were nice, the tours were nice, but that first day where we spent with the kids and the teachers and all the Fuente people, I mean, Eric Newman from J.C. Newman Company and Carlito Fuente and his father founded that in the early 2000s. And what they built there, and what they continue to build, they're building a new nursing school.
Wow.
They're trying to get the people to stay within the community, because this community, which is well outside of Santiago, I don't recall the exact name of the town, but it's well outside the main town. The way we saw the kids, I mean, there was one pride and joy was a young man who's now a doctor who's studying to become a brain surgeon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
mean,
amazing.
And the kids with their musical presentations, I mean, they were very, very good. They had they have an amphitheater with a nice big stage, and we were sitting, and they were putting on an exhibition of martial arts. Kids are quite talented. And years before the foundation took hold there, these kids, they lived, not, I won't say squalor, but they didn't have clean water. They didn't, in a lot of cases, electricity. And now, you know, the foundation is bringing all that into the community. And it was just so amazing. And the kids are just, they're all uniformed. I mean, you know, I'll show you pictures and videos that we took while we were
You
there.
should get a humanitarian award for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they deserve all the success. The two families, the Newmans and the Fuentes, they deserve every bit of success they have, and they've earned it. They've earned it.
Bobby and Eric down there too.
Yeah, Bobby and Eric were there.
Drew.
Yeah, yeah. No, Drew was not there, but Liana was there, and she's the future of the family.
Mhm.
He made it quite clear that the next generation is Liana.
That's great.
That's
awesome.
great.
And at his age, which he kept emphasizing, his age, it sounds like she's integrating in and taking more and more
How
responsibility.
old is Carlos?
65. You wouldn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 65. He's younger than me, though.
Parts are younger, though.
What?
Parts are younger.
Oh, boy. Okay. We'll bleep that. At any rate, it was a wonderful trip, and it was exhausting. I will say that he is tireless. I mean, he goes and goes and goes.
Got a lot of passion then.
Oh
Yeah.
my Lord, yes, passion up the kazoo. Can you say that, up the kazoo?
Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you can say that one.
Yeah.
You
Well-
can say yes.
Back to the show. Moose, what are we drinking with this stuff?
We're drinking Lundy VS Cognac. Got a bit of an orange, orange blossom, orange peel aroma to it. It's tastes like fresh pressed grapes.
Oh, nice.
And
Sounds like
That's
wine.
nice.
to quote a famous commercial, is a very soft mouthfeel. And the beer I'd pair up with this is Blue Point Toasted Lager. They use 6 different malts. They balance it with hops, and it's got a nice, long-lasting, smooth flavor.
What's it called again?
Blue Point Toasted Lager.
Okay. Cool.
Is that from Maryland?
Don't know actually.
Was your Blue Point, Maryland?
I was just wondering because crabs talk about points and blue crabs.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, just wondering.
On lunch, our third day, they had, I guess, Mr. Brugal from Brugal Rum, which is a rum of the Dominican Republic. And the pairing, they had the cigars matched up with 3 different kinds of rum. They had little sniffers to taste the rums. And, you know, those of you who watch this show know that I'm not exactly what you would call a drinker. But I sipped
I'm not a drinker.
I sipped as he was making the presentation and describing what each rum was and how it paired up with the cigars and everything. The first 2 just not my taste, but the third one, which wasn't even all that expensive, was really dynamite. It was really good. Delicious. I have a picture of that too. But,
Sounds like a fun trip.
it was. Well, it was exhausting and a little tough on the leg because you're standing a lot. And I put on about 10,000 steps a day, so I covered some mileage. So I guess we're time for our final review.
Yeah.
Fantastic cigar. That nuttiness continued all the way through. It started off very strong and very peppery, but it smoothed out. And now I'm getting a touch of sweetness from the cigar. I'd give this a 925.
Wow.
Moose?
Nice.
I like it a lot. I'll give it a 9.5.
There is a lot.
You're right. It is absolutely consistent all the way through. I picked up the pepper again later in the only through the retro hail. I really like this cigar. I give it a 9.75.
Woo!
Yeah, I really like this cigar.
Averaging a 9.5 right now.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Marianne?
I like the cigar. It would definitely be another one I'll smoke again soon. I would have to probably say 9.5.
Excellent.
Well,
As for you?
again, a lot of you who watch the show over the years know that I value price as part of the, rating system, and it's a great cigar, and at $6 to $7, I have to go with a 9.5 just to even it out, which is 9.5 is a pretty good rating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, think about how many cigars get a 95 in
Not too many.
any of the magazines.
Yeah.
No, not too many.
I definitely smoke this cigar.
It's AJ.
Yeah, it's AJ.
Yeah, AJ has the hot hand. There's no question about it.
Mhm.
And he,
I'd have to say it's pretty consistent, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking
I think it's
forward.
a complex cigar, I think. There's a lot of, everybody said a lot of different tastes.
Yeah.
So,
In a couple of weeks, as you know, I'll be going down to Casa de Campo in Punta Cana for our annual TAA convention, which is a very exclusive group of tobacconists. Those of you who have been in our stores know we have the TAA cigars, and we're the only one within 75 miles to have those. And this year, AJ is going to be part of it.
Nice.
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. He'll have a special cigar for the TAA, and
that's
that'll be in
awesome.
our stores.
Cool.
And, just a wonderful time to do business. You get very intimate settings with all the heads of the cigar companies, and it's a very pleasant way to spend a few days. Just want to remind everybody, as we're kind of coming out of the winter and going towards the spring, things are getting nicer out there. Don't forget to support your local tobacconist who has given you lounges to smoke in during the winter.
Free coffee.
We don't have cigars and we don't have stores rather in every corner. So please support your local brick and
We
mortar
do have cigars
retailer.
in every store, though.
And we'll keep looking for more locations to fill up those empty corners.
That's true.
How's that?
Okay.
So don't forget to watch our show Saturday night at 8 o'clock on what channel is that?
4.
Channel 4.
Oh, wait.
We're on
Saturday?
Channel 4. Ciao for now, everybody.
Bye.